Hi there, you're watching Startup Central. Direct to consumer, or D2C as it's called, has taken the world by storm. In fact, during the lockdown and COVID-19, for the first time ever, you saw Amazon's market share in its home country, United States, go down. In India too, it's become the buzzword. You're seeing a lot of deal activity. And today, we're going to be talking about D2C because this space has also seen its largest ever M&A transaction till date. It is MyGlamm Group, which has bought Mom's company. We're being told the transaction is pegged at about 500 crore rupees. Joining us, Darpan, the big boss at MyGlamm, and from Mom's company, we're being joined by the co-founder, Malika. Thank you so much for joining us here on ET Now. Darpan, I'll come to you first. You are on some on steroids when it comes to M&A activity, huh? First it was Popexo. You hearing about Baby Chakra, now Mom's Co. What's going on?
What's going on, Nayantara, is that, we're fulfilling our ambition and vision of building the digital FMCG conglomerate of the future. We have an amazing opportunity ahead of us. We are ahead of most people in the ecosystem, and we want to ensure that the gap between us and others continues to increase, and the momentum that we have doesn't slow down. Today is a massive, massive day for the Good Glamm Group. The acquisition of the Mom's Co. is a pivotal moment for us. It is the largest DTC M&A transaction in India. Most importantly, though, it's a brand that we all love and admire. And so super excited to welcome the Mom's Co. to the Good Glamm Group family.
So Darpan, when you want to become this digital first FMCG giant, as you're saying it, is it going to be primarily catering to women, or are you also going to enter the men's stuff and scale that up, but at a later stage?
Nayantara, I think you've been speaking to folks in our strategy team. Look, when you think the digital FMCG conglomerate, there are two or three pieces here. One is we are digital first. So we need to continue to own digital assets that connect with our consumer. And then we need brands and products which we can sell to these consumers. Currently, our focus is on the female consumer. We want to, we are interacting with her right from when she's a tween with Popexo to when she's a mom with now Mom's Co. And then later on when she's a family provider or empty nester. Will we look at men's? Possibly, could happen. Nothing happening right away though.
Fair enough. Malika, welcome to ET Now. You're going to go down in history for having concluded the first and the largest ever D2C M&A deal, right? That we've seen at 500 crores. Can I ask you what it took from you to sell this baby of yours?
I think it was a very exciting opportunity lying ahead, Nayantara. The Mom's Co has always got a lot of love for the brand and a lot of great feedback for its products. And I think when we were looking at our next round of funding, we wanted distribution at large. And we've always been a D2C online first company. And what we got with the Good Glamm Group was a great way to get distribution across not just online platforms, but also through their offline network. And that's what excited us the most. Just the ability to leverage on what they have built at the Good Glamm Group with the content community and the retail distribution was the most exciting for us at the Mom's Co.
So Malika, tell me how, I was talking to a friend of mine, and I really did mean this in a slightly serious way. And I'm not a parent, but just from the tendencies I've seen around, it seems as if the baby business is also recession-proof. So can you give us an idea of how big the market is?
So, the market is huge, as we say that, right? Let's put a 10,000 crore market by itself. But I think what's the beauty of it all is the fact that babies are always going to get born, and it's not led by any season. You will see a lot of other channels and a lot of other spaces where you would see a lot of seasonality. This is where you don't have a seasonality. And also I think the biggest advantage of the space is the fact that once you've got the faith and trust from the mother or from the family, you have these consumers staying with you for a really long period of time.
Darpan, coming back to you then, we've seen you trying to have an umbrella group of brands as well. Like I said, there have been M&A strategies. You were, of course, got Amazon in as an investor. So if I could ask you this festive season, what are the trends? It's early days. We're talking on day one of Navratras, but Is consumption back the way we are hearing?
Absolutely. It is back on the ground. Right now, Pujo is happening in the East. We are on the ground there. We are there in the pandals. We've set up our, stalls there. And you have to see the crowds. They are there. You look at the crowds even in all our offline retail outlets, they are back. So consumption is clearly happening. I think the bounce back from the second wave was incredibly quick. And not just online, but also offline. Consumption is back. Makeup is doing well. Lipstick sales are great. Skincare, of course, has performed brilliantly well in the last 15 months. So yes, consumption is back.
And you also have an offline strategy. It started during the COVID times. Are you going to ramp up your offline stores, or do you think that we've just been so spoiled with online? Maybe you can slow down. I'm just trying to figure out the omni-channel strategy, and if people are having to change that post the second wave.
So Nayantara, it goes back to a fundamental belief that we have as a company that in India, if you want to build great brands of scale, you have to be offline as well. You might be able to build the brand digitally and accelerate that brand building digitally. But if you're not there offline, I don't think you can be a big brand of scale. So our offline plans continue very, very strong. We will be by March 2022 at 100,000 points of sale. Today, we're at 30,000. So you're going to see it grow 3x in the next 6 months. So extremely bullish about offline.
The other thing I've been wanting to ask you, Darpan, the phenomenon we are seeing in the smaller towns. In the startup ecosystem, there is a buzz about building for Bharat and the world, okay? You're seeing people grow there. What has it been like for MyGlamm?
So, it's very interesting. If I look at our revenues from about 18 months ago to today, 18 months ago, we were 65% tier 1 and about 35% tier 2 and tier 3. Today, we are 65% tier 2 and tier 3, and tier 1 is 35%. Clearly, the consumption in tier 2 and tier 3 is absolutely growing very large. But what's very important, Nayantara, in our category of beauty, I do believe that if you have to be successful in tier 2 and tier 3, you have to be, you first have to show success in tier 1, because beauty is a very aspiration driven category. Our consumers in tier 2 and tier 3 do appreciate the fact that the brand has already done it well in tier 1. It's a brand that resonates all across.
Malika, coming to you, have you been primarily a brand for the bigger cities, or had you already started going into the smaller towns?
So Nayantara, we've always been focused on the conscious mom who was looking for nothing but the best for the child. So even as on date, about 60% of our sales come from outside of tier 1 and the top 10 metros. I think it's always been very exciting and interesting to know that the moms who are conscious and looking out for the best exist all over the place, and they're always the first adopters. And in general, the community of moms is just so strong, and the word of mouth is just so important there that they become the first evangelists who start advocating the brand to everybody else who's there. And that's why we're seeing the spread of brand across both tier 1, tier 2, and even beyond certain cities as well. We, as in date, cater to about 20,000 pin codes just by our own D2C site.
And Darpan, shopping habits, ticket sizes, you see a difference in the smaller towns and the bigger towns?
Very interesting. So we see ticket sizes lower only by about 10% in tier 2 and tier 3 versus tier 1. Repeat behavior is identical between tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. I think the opportunity is massive in our smaller towns. The consumers are discovering online, discovering on social media, and they want it all.
My final question to you, Darpan, before we go, it is, this time I'm saying that Diwali Dhamaka is going to actually be on Dalal Street, right? So many IPOs. Do you have any plans for an IPO?
In 2 years, hopefully, right? Our goal is end of 2023. As an entrepreneur, Nayantara, I'm a firm believer that I will not list unless I'm generating some serious EBITDA. And I think in 2 years, we will be ready for that.
Right. With that, thanks so much for joining us here, to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.